So typically she spends that day, just privately marking the occasion, because we have to remember it is, the anniversary of her father's death. So it's a sad day for her, even though, it is marking her taking the throne.
Kristen, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, there's been a lot of news in the royal sphere this week, a lot going on. So I know there's a lot of scandal going on this year so far, and we're just a couple of weeks into the new year. But this is also the Jubilee year. So how do you think that these recent scandals may impact the Jubilee?
So I think right now, there is a bit of a shadow over what's supposed to be a really exciting time just with the headlines right now. But I do think as we get closer to the actual events and, we're all there and celebrating and that real Jubilee week in June, that I think the focus will shift a bit more to Her Majesty and her accomplishments and, what everybody is there to celebrate. But right now, I think in the lead up, there's so much focus on, of course, the headlines with Andrew and now with Harry's security issues. And, that does give a little bit of a backseat to the Jubilee. But I do think, on February 6th, which is the official start of the Jubilee year, we'll see a little more shift towards focuses on the Queen. But right now there is, quite a lot going on, as you said.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I think that, everyone's looking forward to the big events in June, but you're right that, the Jubilee really starts February 6th. Do we have any idea on how that might be celebrated or marked, or how the Queen might spend that day?
So typically she spends that day, just privately marking the occasion, because we have to remember it is, the anniversary of her father's death. So it's a sad day for her, even though, it is marking her taking the throne. It's really, a private family, and, anybody who has lost a family member knows that anniversary can be difficult. So that's something that she just, reflects on in private at home typically. But her being based at Windsor, she may visit his grave on that day. For the Diamond Jubilee in 2012, she did release a statement that was, talking about her being on the throne for 60 years. So I think we will see something like that this year. As for, any kind of celebration or event, I don't really see that happening though.
Yeah. Well, but like you said, we do have this big celebration in June, a 4-day weekend. It's going to be, concerts, a bake-off. There's a ton of things prepared, but a lot of people want to know what the fashion is going to look like. What is the Queen going to wear? What's Kate going to wear? What's Meghan going to wear if she comes? I mean, what do you think the fashion will look like? What can you kind of predict?
So I'm really excited for that part because I love to write about style. But I think if we look back to the last Jubilee, we saw, some really great outfits from Kate, some Alexander McQueen, if you remember, that wonderful red dress she had. And the Queen, as you know, has sort of a uniform. So she has her coat dress and her hat, but I'm sure she'll have some amazing new hats for us to look forward to. And, I think in terms of fashion, this isn't the time for rewears necessarily. This is a big event. So we'll see some really great new and higher end pieces, especially from Kate, I think. So that's something to look forward to.
Definitely.
It is so interesting. Like you made me laugh with the Queen having a new hat, but with Kate, for these high profile events, she tends to choose really high-end designers like McQueen. But then we can't go out and buy what she's wearing because it's a bespoke McQueen piece. So what do you think we can look forward to in terms of, trinkets, memorabilia, maybe replicate pieces or little things to kind of celebrate this big event?
So right now, if you go on the Royal Collection website, they do have the range of Jubilee China out already. I think it came out at the end of last year, actually. So they have mugs and biscuits and Christmas ornaments and whatever you might like is already available now. And I think some of it's actually already sold out. But I'm sure as the day gets closer, they're going to have additional merchandise and more things. But yeah, if you can't make it to London, you can definitely go online and buy things like that as a memento.
I mean, I know that you have covered some big royal events in the past. I mean, what is it like being there, like in the trenches with everybody kind of covering these major events? And this is something that, is going to go down in history.
It's really exciting, but it's also, I think, a bit stressful. And I think Christine would agree on that part when you're, you have media interviews to do, or you're running from place to place and you're like, okay, where am I meeting this producer? And how do I get there in this crowd? And what do they look like? And that sort of thing. It can be a little bit stressful, but it's also like you have to take a step back and realize that this is a huge historic event and you're being part of it. And it's hugely exciting to be there at the same time. But I think you can't really appreciate it in the same sense of being there for fun and just as a spectator when you're there to do work as well. But it's really a great privilege to even be able to experience that, knowing that a lot of people, don't ever see something like that in person.
I think I do know the stress. I remember it very well. But I think you're right that it's completely surreal. When you're there, it's whether you're there for work or as a spectator, it's manic. There's so many people, so much going on. And it's hard to take a step back and say like, wow, this is a big moment of history. Do you have any tips if someone's going to make it to London this summer for those events as a spectator? Any tips or tricks for kind of being there in the moment?
So I think definitely having a plan is important, and knowing, where the best spot is going to be and things like that, because that can be really stressful just in times when I've been there just personally for fun years ago, thinking, all right, where do I go? Like, what are you going to do? And that can be stressful in that sense and take away, I think, from being in the moment when you're worried about how I can see them the best or that sort of thing. So have a plan, research, look on Google Maps, look where the best spot's going to be. And then you can really focus on being in the moment and being exciting. And I would also say maybe don't take a lot of pictures or videos, because if you're living through your phone, then you're not looking at it. So I try to do that as much as possible. Of course, if I'm not trying to record footage, for work purposes, just try to be in the moment as much as you can.
Yes, that is a good tip. Always be present. It's very important.